Yeah, it's true. I'm in prison. Don't worry. Not unlike some of those people on YouTube, I ain't committed a crime. I'm having a tour. Shepton Mallet Prison, just before it's going to shut down for good. So, join me and let's have a look round.
I never got to work here. My name's Morris, by the way. Right. I never got to work here. I went to Wakefield Monster under Burn. So Wakefield Monster, Manchester Cat A, Blunston Cat B, Burn Cat C. Never got my decap. So I'm on parole here, I think. Gave me when I retired. But 33 years in, 15 years on the right squads as well, the Tornado teams. So there's nothing I haven't seen, done or witnessed in my time. Please ask as many questions as you want as you go around. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Easter was the second anniversary of the two of the stupidest questions I've ever been asked. One lady asked how many people died in the mortuary. I wouldn't mind, but her mate asked if the body on the autopsy table was real. I said, well, it is Easter. We're only paying him from Friday till Monday. See his dad Monday morning. She still don't get me. You will find that I am sick and I am twisted. But Shepton Mallet, when it closed, was actually the oldest working prison in Britain. Around 1609, James I of England, James VI of Scotland, decided that every county should have a house of correction. And some counties get 2 or 3. Ilchester opened in 1650. Taunton, Exeter, Bedminster, Sleeping into Sherborne, they had a house of correction, believe it or not. And this opened in 1625. We still have half a dozen cells from that era, right? But we can't get to a lot. We only get to one at the moment. The vast majority of these buildings are Victorian. Victorians decided to expand on the estate in the first half of the 19th century. We do have some 1970s rubbish like this. The top floor of this one was actually the third chapel that went on site. Middle floor was run by a probation and psychology department. Ground floor was the modern kitchens at this end, and at the far end was the officers' mess. The second chapel was the tall windows there, but we used to do family visits. That was turned into a gymnasium for the prisoners when they opened the last one. It's still used as a gym. We can't go in. It's used by Shepton Mallet Gymnastics School. They come here 4 or 5 nights a week, and they're all about this big, and they're just so damn cute. They really are. And they come here to do roly-polies and bounties and things like that. Come on, I'm built for comfort. I know where the door is. But they did quite well in the Nationals a few months ago. I can't wait for their Olympic champions. Because when they start their biography, I've given them the first line. I don't know my gymnastics in jail. The jail, as I said, expanded on by the Victorians. They moved themselves up to about 185 and 186. They kept on doing it, and I think that was around 1930, this jail was holding 40 or 50 prisoners. More staff in doing comments, so they should reject that. It stayed in mothballs until 1938. In 1938, the British military were looking for another gas house. They had a military prison. They heard this was on the market, and so they took it over to the project. They put 300 on the first one. So they more than doubled the expectation. British military goes on until now, up until 1886, executions in England were public events. Here at Shepton Mallet, they took place at the Market Cross in town. We'd have hanging fairs. 2,000 or 3,000 people would turn up, and they'd probably hang 2 or 3 on the day. That's something to do in the weekend, after that. They say they met 12 members of the Monmouth Rebellion were hanged, drawn, and quartered in Shepton Mallet. They talk about burning a witch at the stake, which is unusual, because we normally drown our witches. The jocks have burned them off. And there's also one story of somebody being boiled in oil, which I think is a waste of chip there. But after 1889, Shepton was designated the county jail, and between 1889 and 1926, 7 men were hanged for murder. Their sentence is to hang by their neck until they are dead, and their bodies are to lie unmarked in unconsecrated ground for 100 years. They are still here. With that strip of tarmac. Archaeologists came in 16, missed them completely on the first dig, got them on second. They're only about that below the ground, not a full 6 feet. Think about it. Prison officers digging the hole, it's lunch in half an hour. 8 rock under here. We know who the 7 are. We know where they are. We just don't know who is who. They say they laid them consecutively. Okay. Left to right or right to left? Which way were you facing, boys? The only one we're half sure of is the guy in the middle, and we can't even be certain it's him. If you're the descendant of any of these 7, and they decide to lift the bodies after 2026, then be prepared to receive an email. Obviously not from them, because their Wi-Fi's crap. Right. But they have to offer them back to the families first. I've met the descendants of the first and the second in the ground there. If you decide to take up the body, it will be up to you to rebury that body at your expense. And funerals are what, £6,000 to £8,000 now? My wife's got mine down to 4.5. It's all right, I've got hers down to 1,500 quid. I want a new motorbike, I'm not wasting petrol money. But if they have to come, and that is a big if, they will probably go into Shepton Mallet graveyard over the wall here. The sheriff will have to petition the king through the House of Lords, so the king can then issue a pardon for the bodies to be raided and relayed in consecrated ground. Right. The only thing we can do over there is give them a common grave with a common stone, so at least the 7 guys will get their name back. Right. We can't even put a board on there to say who's in the ground, because that's marking their graves. There are stories that there are thousands of bodies here in Shepton Mallet Prison. They're not. They're just across the lane. When you go back out the main gate, far wall, that little door there is the entrance to the paupers pits or the plague pits for the Shepton Mallet area, and they're all in there. There's also stories when the Victorians start to build A wing, they found paupers' graves in that area as well. Right? That we know is a fact, right? But how many other bodies are here, we can't really say. Everybody happy so far? Yeah. I'm really good at depressing people. Now, when the Americans were in the Second World War, they actually passed death sentences on 443 American servicemen in the European theatre alone. 109 of those were confirmed, 70 of them took place, 19 of that 70 in England. One was hanged at Pentonville for the murder of a taxi driver. The remaining 18 were executed here at Shepton Mallet. 16 they hanged, and 2 they shot. And they shot them underneath that speaker. The damage to the right of that little grey box on the wall is actually from the first firing squad. Americans learnt a big lesson that morning. These are solid stone walls. They are 2 to 5 feet thick. You start to throw bullets at a wall like this at any speed, they will have a tendency to bounce. And the local story is that the officer in charge of the first firing squad was actually hit in the chest by a ricochet and killed. So 2 for the price of 1 on brass that morning. They learnt with the second guy, put more sandbags behind him. The Americans weren't laid in Shepton. They went to Brookwood Cemetery, just outside Woking. Now, the cemetery in Victorian time was known as the Necropolis. It's an overflow cemetery for London. It started off as paupers' pits. They stayed there until 1948. In 48, their bodies were taken up, moved to Wazane in France, to the American military cemetery there. They're held in a separate part of the cemetery, and their graves are only identified by a small cross and a number. Private Cobb, who was the first one hanged here, his body was actually claimed by the family in 48 from Brookwood and went straight back to Alabama. And Private Matilda, the first one shot, his body was claimed sometime around 1970. The rest, as far as I'm aware, are still at Wazane.
Why were 2 shot and the others were hanged?
The 2 that were shot, they were all 18 were actually executed for murder, rape, or both offences. Now, when Cobb was hanged, his execution for rape was the first one in England in 100 years. They weren't. It didn't actually come off our statute books in 1841. but they were sentenced under the military code, and so he received a military sentence. The two that were shot had killed fellow servicemen, and so they received a military sentence for their miscreants. Everyone happy?
Yeah.
We do have numbers on the walls. 4, 5, 6. We only go as high as 7 around the corner, so obviously 1 through 3 come this way. This is something called fixed post. Every group of officers is assigned to a fixed post, and if an incident starts in the jail, when it escalates, it'll probably come over the radio, officer attend fixed post. And 1 officer from each group will come out, stand underneath this fixed post with a radio and hopefully a hat. Right, because that could be a distraction for something going either way over the wall out here. Nowadays it's probably coming this way. It'll be drugs, mobile phones, chargers, things like that. Right. On a day like this, I'm sending the new boy out. I only come out on a warm day with a chair. And I've been both. Happy?
Yeah.
We have had about 50 escapes from here. And to be honest, over 400 years, it's not a bad average. Right? Everybody is recaptured. Men, women, children. Our youngest child held here was only 5. He was in for stealing an apple. British and American military all came back. And there's only 4 that were never recaptured. And that was Phipsey, Spoons, Knuckles McGinty, and Paddington Bear. Because they filmed part of Paddington 2 here. In Victorian times, the jail's not run by the state, it's run by the sheriff. And from here to the far wall, this was the stone breaking yard. You're classed as an adult at 16. Adult males out here, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, breaking stone. We'd have the kids out here as well. They'd be collecting the stone, moving it to a central point, and then that's sold on to builders and to merchants. The 6 arches there, actually was one of the largest treadmills in England. Now, treadmills came in 1818, which was built in 1823. The last one went out in 1893, and this one finished in 1890. This had a drive shaft into a mill room on the far side of the wall. And the prisoners on the wheel drove the stones in the mill room through the drive shaft. 40 prisoners, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, 15 minutes on, 5 minutes off. You will cover 18 to 20,000 steps per day on the wheel. Effectively, you climb Everest twice a week. Now, escapes. 2 in this area. Guy from Milburn Port actually made his way down the drive shaft into the mill room. He'd done Austin Frost on it. Got away from the 7 guys that were in there. Didn't get far down the street because they captured him and dropped him back in. The other escape is that top cell at the left, the one with the grill work on it. Now the Dannet wire up there didn't go up there until the mid-90s. Mid-1980s on the wing here, 3 guys had made a rope, had a bedding and sheets and things, came out underneath the window. That took more than an hour to dig. So somebody's not doing the security checks. Tied the rope up on the inside, got it over the main wall. Somebody out there braced it somehow. One by one they got to the top of the wall and then walked to the top of the wall, past the governor's office, obviously on the phone, busy call. Dropped down at the main gate because it's only 25 feet there. 2 of them then stole a prison officer's car and attempted to drive home to Bristol. Didn't get all the way. Other guy was a local boy. He only lived the other side of the town, so he decided to walk home. As you would. Well, he ain't got bus there. And part way back he thought, oh, hang on. Pubs are open. Wonder if the boys are in. So he popped to the pub for a pint. Now, the prison service never naturally assume an escape has taken place. Yeah, we alert the outside authorities, they set up their roadblocks, they start their searches out there. We will search the jail. In my time, on 2 occasions, I've known guys that faked escapes. They faked the first one, hide up in the jail somewhere. The idea is they'll wait for 48 hours, they're off the main news by then, everyone outside's getting bored, and that's when they spring. Well, we got them. Obviously didn't get these. Well, the staff searched the jail, and after quite a few hours, they let the staff go home. Two of them were walking back across town, probably because one of them just had his car nicked. And they thought that was odd. Let's have a pint. So they popped in the pub. Who's still at the bar? Absolutely bladdered by now. Said the landlord, what are you giving him free beer for? He says, well, he only lives round the corner. We thought he got released last week. He's been telling funny stories about your place all night long. He's got another one now, hasn't he? Well, they're not going to be too happy because A, they ain't going to get their pint. And when they get back here, they've got 3 hours of paperwork to do. They managed to track down, trace and recapture the most violent prisoner they've ever come across in their service and dragged him kicking, screaming and fighting all the way back into the main gate. Stephen King has got nothing on those. We are good. I was in fear of my life. The prisoner was no bigger than him. He had a bloody great big piece of wood. I only had a little one. Just believe me, give him a month. Should have got 2 for each bruise, but never mind. Happy? Yeah. Take a wander around. When we finish, pop down here into security. You've got 2 weapons boards there. Some of those have been found in here. Some of them have been reproduced by staff. My favourite is the knuckle duster made with pedestals. That is cool. I've not come across that one before. And the glove actually has nails sticking out the knuckles. In there, turn the mic, mind the step. It's a bit higher than usual. No, just pop in. I'll do a load of spiel in there. Top is roughly where I am, and she's checking the back of her camera.
Her friend that took the photograph is in the far corner of the room. When we got back and put the photo onto the computer,
Face from the knees down. I've been here for a year. Main gates themselves were actually closed in '98. Last time, the photograph top right is the gate from the outside, believed to have been the original gate to Ilchester Jail. Now that came down in 1815. This building didn't really start to go up to around 1830. Well, it wasn't completed until 1830. So it could well be the Ilchester main gate. We can't find any plans for Ilchester Jail that show the size or anything, but we take it for granted. The little room to the right, as you look at the gate, that is where the key safe is, the first key safe. Staff will attend duty through the main gate in the morning, and as you attend duty, the first thing you hand over is your key tally. Nowadays, the second thing you hand over is your radio tally. These are mine from the Verne, I stole them when I left. Well, they went biometrics. You can only draw radios and keys on fingerprints now. They keep my fingerprints, I'm keeping their tallies. Best one. But every single set of keys is a master set. I only need 4 keys to get around the whole of this jail. I have one that fits every single cell, one for every office door, one for every wooden door, and one for every metal gate. And that's all I need to get around the jail. If a set of keys goes missing, all hell breaks loose. If they are found and returned to the prison, then they are bagged up and sent away for forensic testing. If they are scrupulously clean, every single key in this, every single lock in this building has to be changed, because no set of keys is clean. And if they show any sign of any copying medium, every single lock has to be changed. You will find locksmiths from various jails descend on here. Locks will arrive from a central point, and it's literally a case of one out, one in, one out, one in. It'll take about 2 months to change all the locks in here, and will cost anything between £1 and £1.5 million to do so. So if you lose your key nowadays, you can kiss your job goodbye. You really can.
Does it happen very often?
It does happen on occasion. I actually walked out of the jail with a set on me. Well, I'd been sick. We were actually on a blue light to the hospital. I'd have been really badly slashed. It was the security principal officer that saw us out the gate. That was my defence. We got male and female prisoners here were flogged, and they flogged them using the cat o' nine tails. Once the governor confirmed how many lashes they're due to receive, you'll be taken to the flogging room, tied to the flogging post, stripped to the waist, and commence your flogging with the cat. Once the cat is out of the bag and it's been used, it's burned. They were actually made by prisoners in Wandsworth. That was a big job. If you collapse or you're fainted partway through, they will put you down, take you to one of the infirmaries, hit you with vinegar and every single lash that you've been sentenced to. It was always the same warder that delivered your flogging. That way there was no difference in the weight of the lash across your shoulders. And if he was seen to take pity on you or to ease, he could receive the same number of lashes that you've been sentenced to. So when it was delivered full force. Now you'll be pleased to know we didn't flog the children, because we used to birch the little buggers instead. Birch is a cane as thick as my thumb, hence the rule of thumb. Up to the age of 14, he weighed 9.5 ounces, he was 30 inches long. Over the age of 14, he weighed 12 ounces and was 38 inches long. You're at the wagon end of it. Same rules apply. Bend you over the birchen bench, apply the birch, collapse the faint, take you away, fix you, bring you back later, carry on. The last birching in an English prison was 1966. The last flogging in an English prison was 1962. In Victorian times, all this was laid to flower beds and to vegetable plots. What is now A-wing over there, that was women and children. They actually looked after the plots out here. Everything here went to market. That's B-wing, adult males. The top 2 floors down the far end is D-wing. Later the drug rehabilitation unit, opened by Terry Waite in 1990. Bottom 3 windows on the left lead to the execution area. Bottom 3 windows on the right is the segregation unit of the block. Because we have to be PC nowadays, we have to call it care segregation. About a year before I left, a letter came round and said we had to call all the prisoners residents. Hi guys. I struggled to call them prisoner. I started in Wakefield. Hey up lad, is that the new boy? Right, they're all bloody cons up there, remember that, and I get on great in this job. And they were cons from day 1 to day end. Well, they called me names as well. Some of them I don't repeat. But everything here goes to market. Right the way through till 1930, the governor and his family lived on the top floor there. So I'd imagine that the governor's wife got a fresh bunch of flowers every Monday morning. After all, she's in charge. Right. She also got the first pick of all the veggies before they went away to market. Morrison's get the wonky veg, and any slimy veg will go in your gruel. Easy as that. Victorians ran the silent solitary system though, so it's a single cell. You're not allowed to communicate either verbally or non-verbally with any other prisoners whilst you're in this jail. The only person you speak to is the likes of me, has to answer my question yes sir or no sir. 50-50 choice, make the right one or I'll have you beaten. Before you leave the cells, gentlemen, you'll place the hood or the cowl over your head so no one can see your face. Ladies, you would have been heavily veiled so no one can see your face. The only ones we didn't mask were the children. That way, at least you took the right one back to the cell with you at night and not that squid at the bottom whose nose down 3 days. But you only did hard labour 6 days a week. That's alright, isn't it? Sunday you went to church, and you will go to church. Right, 2 hours of fire and brimstone from the vicar, then back to your cells, everyone behind the doors. And then the warders on the wings will have set periods for exercise for their wing. An hour. because this has to prove to be the best design Victorian galleries. Yes. Dorchester is a radial jail. You have a centre, and you've got B wing, A wing, C wing, all in the centre. All our wings are separate. Which is a little bit more difficult to control, but yeah. At least with the radio jail, there's a problem one way. Whoever's in charge, if you direct that through the line, down to see it slow. And you can also stop extra stuff. We've got two Doctor Who's here. Alright. We've got any Grantchester fans? I'll admit to it, I watch it.
Yes.
Series 6. Leonard goes to jail. The series that starts in the holiday camp.
Yes, yes.
This is Leonard's jail. This is his wing. I was actually chatting to my Weaver by the place devil. Leonard? And I said, I don't know why you're in jail. He says, no, you're not. I said, yeah, you've got Mrs. Everett. Sorry, Mrs.
Yes.
He said, I'm saying something. I said, right. I know your character's proclivity. It's the 1950s. That's why you're in jail. Yeah. So when you watch it, see what you can spot out here. They take a really roundabout way to get to visits. All very, very similar, yeah. I mean, you've got 83 cells on here. They're doubles like 18, so you've got 94 prisons. Victoria times would have just had the 83. They would have had 6, maybe 8 more things to control what's going on. Nowadays, 3. 1 per landing. There's the dinosaur, this is my landing. You start on the top landings in the prison service and you're promoted down to 5 minute experience. And this is my landing until Steve gets it, because Steve's got 3 months more service in than I have. So I move up on that and he gets this one. But these have all got toilets and they've all got sinks. These are very big cells. A modern cell is probably only 2/3 the size of that. Some of them are 1/4 of that size. And I can still tell you, in fact, these are like 6. Some of the London jails have, but they've got at least 4 into these cells. But the toilets didn't go in until 1996, not 1896. Dorchester, 2002. Up until 96 here, if you're in a single cell, you've got a plastic potty. It's a little bit bigger than the Keys one. If you're sharing, like 18, the fair you share is put a bucket. Hopefully you have the lid. You only need liquid body waste in your pot or your bucket overnight. Right. When the curry starts to grumble at 3 o'clock in the morning, you best pray you have 2 sheets of the Daily Telegraph. Because it's a hell of a lot easier to hit than 2 sheets of the Sun. But I've tried, my first recommendation for my students. You leave what's left of the curry on there, you wrap it up into a nice fat parcel, and you throw it out the cellar again. Oh shit. These cells are nowadays Victorian and Victorian.
You've got a phone thing.
of meal times, the prisoners will come back from their work, go back behind the door, full roll check to make sure you've got everybody. Your 4 survey workers will come down to the survey, which is the blue doors down at the end here. They go behind the survey with one of the officers. He's got a mill board. He knows what you've ordered. When you get up there, you don't like the look of the lasagna because George made it this week and not Sam like last week. There's only 17 burgers arrived on this week for the 17 guys that have ordered them. There's no extras. You get what you've chosen. So we let the first 4 or 5 out, they go down, pick up their meal, come back, go behind the door. And the next 4 or 5 out, modes of control on that. And we don't always start at 1, we vary the start point throughout the landings, so that everybody gets a fair crack of a nice hot meal. Not like Paul Pete in the top left who always gets cold leftovers. Does anybody have any questions yet? You're happy, sir. 2 of these cells in Victorian times were punishment cells. You go and do the main hard labour outside, you'll do in-cell punishment. These had sandbox, a huge metal box on a pedestal. It's sealed. It's full to the brim of sand and gravel. There's an axle in the middle and blades on the axles. Nice big handle on the outside. And it's your job to turn that handle between 6,000 and 10,000 times a day in order to earn your breakfast, your dinner and your tea. You miss the marker, you don't get the meal. The counter, by the way, is outside the cell. So you've no idea what you're doing. Me, I'm finished by late afternoon. No problem. I'm sorry, but you're still turning tomorrow for yesterday's breakfast. So the warden will come into my cell. He will tighten the screw on the side of the sandbox to make it harder for me to turn the handle, and that's where the prison warders earn their nickname screws. We've not actually been classed as warders since 1921. I hate the BBC, the Sky News and all the rest of it. Prison warders are going to sort out that. It's going to take them a while because they're obviously years old, these guys. But the phone booths went in the early 90s, and I have been reliably informed that every cell now has a telephone in the cell. They can't receive calls, they can only make the calls from the cell, and each prisoner has a maximum spend per year of about £300. Out of that £300 comes the price of his phone calls, and we are twice BT rate. If he wants to buy trainers, t-shirts, copper soups, pot noodles, chocolate biscuits, a canteen, all that comes out of that £300. Anybody running out of money, beginning of November, guess who's not bringing his kids on Christmas Day? 19 died in this room. The last 3 civilians, and all 16 now hanged Americans. The Pierpoints are our most prolific executioners, or execution family. The Billingtons preceded them by about 50 years. James Billington there, his 3 sons, Tom, William and John, all followed him as hangman. With the Pierpoints, you have Henry Pierpoint, Albert's father, 108. Thomas Pierpoint, Henry's brother, 240 plus. Albert Pierpoint, 466, probably as many as 608. 17 of them female. His record is 36 in 3 days. 12 each day, women first individually, followed by the men in pairs, all executions 27 minutes apart. And that was in Hamel when he was executing the concentration camp guards. He did not do the war criminals. They were done by an American who copped most of them up, actually, to be perfectly honest, because they're rubbish. But up until 1873, but you've got until 5 o'clock now, guys. We do have our interpretation cells on here. A bit further down, there's a mention of the 1904 fire, which destroyed the roof on the whole of this jail. Right. And that was a big day out. Nobody was killed, lost in, or injured, and it was all put out by the firemen, the